And welcome back, footy fans, to another episode of Donnie's Disposals. I am your host, Coach Donnie Hess here, back with another AFL round review. Ladies and gentlemen, we are getting closer and closer to that lovely time of year, and that is footy finals. We have two rounds left. We have just gotten through round 22. We got to talk it. And joining me, a little bit of a new face, but somebody that I have gotten to know very, very well via the internet. I've been on his podcast. I thought, you know what? Let's bring him on and have him talk footy. Somebody that knows the game of football really, really well. One of the hosts of the Insight Footy Sports channel on YouTube. We have Horse joining us. Horse, it is great to see you, sir.
Donny, thank you for the invitation, mate. It's great to, connect with those internationally that enjoy our great game as much as I do.
Well, it is always fun. I love meeting new co-hosts, people to talk with footy because I love finding different points of view on the sport of football because not everybody has the same views and it's always fun. Plus the fact you have tons of experience in the game, you have tons of contacts. We were talking off mic. Some of the things that I've just heard from this gentleman here has got me so intrigued. I'm fascinated. This man has tons of knowledge. He's played the game of footy. He's coached the game of footy. He talks the game of footy on his YouTube channel. So I thought, let's get him on. Let's have some fun, sir. So let's jump right into it. Thoughts on this interesting round 22? Because as we were kind of talking off mic, a few shockers, a few close games, and a few interesting results that got a lot of people talking in the business. Your thoughts on this interesting round 22?
I love it. I think it's fantastic for the league that you've got one game difference between second and eighth. So while finals aren't entirely sewn up for everybody, you've got such a cluster of teams that could go from a double chance all the way down to eighth and potentially ninth with the Western Bulldogs knocking on the door as well.
Hmm.
Nothing is safe. Like Adelaide are the only team that are guaranteed to play finals right now,
Hmm.
but everyone else is still in such limbo. Like Collingwood were 2 games clear 5 weeks ago, and if things go all the way against them, they might be the unlucky team now to miss out on finals altogether.
Yeah, they have gone pear-shaped in more than a few ways. And
Hmm.
it's been a fascinating watch because I know a few weeks ago I put it out there. I said, I think McRae's tinkering too much. And it really has shown like they seem disorganized at times. In fact, it's actually a great transition for me because let's go around and around. Let's go through each of these games. And the first one, as we said, is the aforementioned Collingwood as Hawthorn on a Thursday night footy bend them over the knee and spank them like a misbehaving stepchild, 110-46, a 64-point win. And I sat through some of the footy shows yesterday, and I know First Crack really went through this. Man, Collingwood looked disorganized. They looked disinterested. There was a lack of effort. McRae comes off sucking up a storm, complaining about lack of effort in front of it. But I mean, this group seems disconnected. This group seems disinterested, and the Hawks capitalized in the most glorious of ways.
As an Essendon supporter, I don't like these two teams at the best of times, Donny, but when they're just beating the crap out of each other and then Collingwood end up losing by 10 goals, I suppose I can tolerate Hawthorn for one night, but it started in the middle with Lloyd Meek. So he
Mhm.
just controlled the game out of the ruck. He's one of those ruckmans. I liken him to Tristan Cherry from North Melbourne a little bit, not on
Mhm.
Cherry's level, but when you're talking about a ruckman who can tap the ball to advantage to his smalls, like Will Day's not there, but he's going to be some player in the future. You got Jai
Agreed.
Newcomb, you got Josh Ward, you got the little guys, James Warple, who he's been a little bit off, and we might talk about him a
Mhm.
bit later on. But when you talk about that midfield versus, your Nick Dacos's and Ned Long's been good this year, but he just looks so lost the last
Mhm.
couple of weeks. That Hawthorn midfield just dominated. So big ups to Lloyd Meek. He controlled the game through the midfield from go to O.
100%. Jai Newcomb was also fantastic as well. But the thing that I kind of I've been thinking in the back of my head, it's like I know they've been playing musical chairs with Ned Long and Mitchell. But
Hmm.
I kind of look at it and go, is they're kind of this was a game where it was like they seemed very one-paced in the middle. It was like they were ball winners, but there was no speed. And when Nick Dacos comes in, there has it, but that's really about it. After that, Long's not fast, he's a ball winner.
Nope.
Mitchell's not
Hmm.
fast, he's a ball winner. Penderbury's not fast, but he's a ball winner. I mean, you could throw Steel Sidebottom in, but I think Steel Sidebottom it plays much, much better in space. So I'd rather have him on the wing. I
Hmm.
don't. Josh Dacos has kind of almost been permanently sagged back to the halfback flanker position, kind of taking over
Hmm.
because Nick has moved to the midfield. I feel like their midfield is one pace. And it seems that in Jordan DeGoey he still I don't think is 100%. I think he's still tiny bit underdone, so I think that's why
Hmm.
they've been keeping him forward. So it's this was one of those where I think the Hawks kind of exposed Collingwood's one-paced midfield in this game because they just could not go with him. Yeah, now Lloyd Meek absolutely tallying up Darcy Cameron really helps, but
Hmm.
even still, like there was no pace out of the center for Collingwood. And as First Crack said, their defense was, I mean, Collingwood's defense looked like headless chooks. They were running
Hmm.
everywhere. They did not know what they were doing. I mean, Dan Houston has been a monumental fail. I know nobody likes to say it in the business. I think he has. I think he's been an absolute, complete failure at Collingwood because they already have what Dan Houston brings. Great kick off the halfback flank. That's it. They already had Josh. They already have Nick. They didn't need Dan Houston. It was the point I did not understand. Everybody was like, "This is the perfect addition." I went, "Why? They already have the same thing." It's like getting six ball winners that are the same pace at St. Kilda. It's the same problem. There is no differentiation, okay? In fact, in my opinion, Josh and Nick are both better at what Dan Houston does than Dan Houston. I mean, am I wrong?
Hmm. No, no, you're spot on. Dan Houston was a big fish in a small pond at Port Adelaide. He was
Mhm.
utilised as a designated kicker, and if you go back and watch some of those games at Port, yeah, he there are a lot of games where he got a lot of the ball, but a lot of that is just out the back of the pack, not being what's the word? No, it's lost me now, but not being accountable, sorry, for
Mhm.
a
Yep.
direct man and just playing that loose man role, which, you and I could rock up and get 30 touches if we didn't have to follow anyone else around, Donny.
Yep.
So as soon as one comes into a system where he needs to be accountable, then in his case, he's been found out.
Yep.
So
100%.
when we're talking Dan Houston, I'm with you. I think it's been a monumental fail on Collingwood's behalf. But on the other half of that, I do want to bring up Jack Ginnivan. So
Hmm.
he had 26 touches, and to some people who follow footy, they'll be like, 26 touches, that's awesome, against Collingwood. Geez, they're a good team. As someone who I coached Jack Ginnivan in 2019 before he joined the AFL here in Central Victoria, here in
Hmm.
Australia. Good kid, personality, yes,
Yep.
but loves getting the crowd up and about. 26 touches for him is more than what he would have got in the local footy leagues here. So
Hmm.
they just gave him no respect and let him do as he pleased for the whole night.
Hmm.
And if you go back and look at Jack Ginnivan's last three games against Collingwood, they're the three most games that he's had the most amount of touches with because they give him no respect and just let him roll around as much as he likes.
Hmm.
And eventually, that arrogant nature is going to catch up with you. And as we've seen the last 5 weeks for Collingwood, when you can't defend and you can't be accountable,
Yep.
then teams are going to get you out the back. And you got the
Hmm.
likes of Pat Voss, who kicked 6 goals. You got Morris, sorry, from Brisbane,
Hmm.
who kicked a bag of six as well. Jack Gunston kicked what? It was four, I believe it was.
Yep.
Chol kicked three. So Lloyd Meek even got three against them. So,
Yep.
you've got to be able to play defense to play offense.
Yeah. Well, and they had very little pressure on the Hawks midfield, which is one of the things that helps out their defense is the pressure that they outnumber the ball, and then that's why they get their run going off of that. Well, this there was absolutely very little pressure that they did, and another one I want to put up that also I kind of felt they didn't really respect was Nick Watson. Like he was a little lightning bolt in there. Like it seemed like he was always hitting packs at full speed and
Yep.
seeming to find a way to get the footy. So this is a Hawthorn Hawks team. I think they're starting to find the mojo that they had a lot last year when Hawkball and everybody they became kind of everybody's second team because they were this almost arrogant but okay arrogant flashy team that everybody kind of loved to watch because they just played the game with so much freedom. They didn't really they did enough to get things done, but they did it in a
Hmm.
manner that was entertaining. And that's why I think a lot of people kind of fell in love with Hawkball. It kind of fell apart at the end of last year into the finals. And we won't get into all the drama at Port Adelaide, but they kind of lost it a little bit this year. They started it and then they kind of lost it during that middle malaise, but they're starting to kind of find it again. This will be fascinating to watch this Hawks team. But Man, if I'm Craig McRae, I'm hitting every panic button. I'm fine because right now they absolutely look lost, and it is crazy how much this team has changed in a few weeks. So we will
Yep.
move. Let's move on.
Yep.
I know this is never easy, sir, as an Essendon supporter, but Geelong Cats down at GMHBA Stadium get an impressive win over the Bombers, 109-65. And as a Bombers fan,
Hmm.
I will ask this. Were you deathly afraid that Jeremy Cameron was going to go for double digits in this game?
No. So one
Love your
thing
honesty.
for anyone that loves to have a little bit of a gamble, I remind you to gamble responsibly. But Essendon play the small grounds quite well. It's
Mhm,
when we get exposed on the bigger grounds like the MCG, that's when teams really kick away from us. So you've got the narrow ground at GMHBA Stadium.
yep.
Essendon clogged the space well. So I was actually pretty impressed with the Essendon lineup in this game. That you look at the score and it's what 50 odd points that they got done by, but
Mhm,
ultimately when you've got 14 debutants that have played throughout the year, which is the most ever for a non-starting team ever in AFL VFL history.
mhm,
It goes to show the injuries, the bad luck that they've had down there, the people that they've just had to throw in to play senior footy this year. I believe there's only two players on the Essendon list that have not played senior footy this year. And with Zach Merritt breaking his hand in his game, in this game against Geelong, sorry, Reece Unwin, he looks like he's going to debut this week as well.
mhm.
So
Yeah.
that'll take the debutants to 15.
It's insane. The only good thing about it is it gets senior footy into some of these youngsters and you can get much better evaluations on whether they're up to the level or not. So it's
Yeah.
kind of a somewhat like some people would say it's a really weird blessing in disguise depending on how you want to look at it. No, I kind of thought the same thing. I almost kind of thought it was over talked about can Jeremy Cameron go nuts on this? And I don't think he was horrible, but I don't also think that when you kick 4-5, I believe it was that I
Hmm.
think he would a little off on the range finder a little bit. So
Yeah.
he'll figure it out. He's
He will.
too damn good a player. Again, this is a Geelong team. They're so well drilled. They're so well executed. Coach Scott he's one of the best coaches in the league. As much as I think he's a cheeky bastard a little bit, and I think sometimes he has a little rat bag personally for me. I think sometimes he opens his mouth and inserts his foot a lot like many people sometimes. But
Yep.
he gets the fucking job done. Let's just be
He
honest.
does.
He does. He's Geelong is no pushover. They just get shit done. They do more with less. It seems like they've just become a club that it's almost annoying how good these guys can be every year, no matter what they lose, no matter who retires, no matter who comes out of the side. Everybody fits their role and everybody does it. They draft well. I've very rarely do they screw up a draft. In fact, sometimes they get lucky and get a top 15 pick in Connor O'Sullivan, who has stepped in and looked magnificent in his first year under the cat system. He's going to be a 15-year vet. I just have a feeling because he's in a system that fits perfectly for him. No, the Cats were fantastic. I agree with you. I don't think Essendon was as bad as people think. I think the score is a little misleading. I think they were close into it. They had some good performances. I was, I'm, the whole Dylan Shield incident was one. It was tough to watch, and I feel bad for Lual because he gets hurt because his teammate does not. His teammate I think he's just trying to separate and get some space, and it leads to quite the nasty fall. So
Hmm.
that was tough to watch as an Essendon supporter. Hard because unfortunately Dylan Shields looks to be disciplined. Unfortunately because of that action.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm hoping as an Essendon supporter that they just drop Shield for the rest of the year and play the kids. So there was a story that came out here in Australia today that Essendon have 9 list cuts to make at the end of the year before they can go into the draft and start drafting players. So while it's been good to be able to blood so many players and get players through, on the other hand, because we took so many people in the mid-season draft,
Hmm.
and we've been playing all of them. McMahon, he was playing VFL for Carlton what just before he got picked up in the mid-season draft. Archer May, he's another one playing
Waff,
reserves. Yeah, Waffle
waffle footy.
in
Yep.
Perth, and then you've got Blackiston who was playing Waffle footy in Perth as well
Hmm.
as a ruckman, and now he's having to play key back. So you've got these three players, and then you've got Oscar Smart. He's another one from not far from where I live here in Victoria. that he's been pushed in as well, playing some VFL footy with Essendon, coming back home to play locally, and then having to be pushed in, got picked up mid-season. Normally, you give a kid a bit of time to get accustomed to the speed and training and all that sort of stuff, and he's been forced to play. So there's going to be some very difficult decisions at Bomberland come the end of the year, and I, for one, as a supporter, I can't wait to see how ruthless they're going to be.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fascinating watch for sure. Let's move on to the next one as we go to the MCG as St. Kilda and Richmond play in a fascinatingly tough, tight, far too close game for my opinion, as good as St. Kilda can be. 4-point win by the Saints, 56-52. I mean, you look at the score, you think, okay, maybe the weather was a factor. Nope. Absolutely gorgeous, sunny day in Melbourne. I mean, fascinatingly interesting, low scoring slugfest that was this game between Richmond and St. Kilda.
Yeah, I was busy watching paint dry because that was more exciting than watching these two teams slug it. I did watch this game and it was a shit show, Donny, to be honest with you. You could
That's
tell
an
that both teams
understatement.
are in the yeah, these two teams are in the bottom eight, bottom 10, no hope of playing finals. You could tell Richmond are blooding the kids. St Kilda are
Yep.
just in this purgatory where they've got good players and they've got some pretty ordinary players. They've got players that have outstayed their welcome. And they're just, again, they're in purgatory. I don't know if they know where they're going.
It's just insane. And it's one of those where it's like you're sitting here going, I know Richmond's a scrappy team, and they've been this little engine that could type of team. Like they're one of those. I always look forward to kind of keeping an eye on the Richmond game because it's going to be one of two things. It's either going to be them staying with a team that's much better than them, or they're going to get their ass kicked. And it's the most interesting thing in the world to watch this Richmond team because they're fighters. They literally they rock up, they put on the gloves, and they turn into Rocky versus Clubber Lang. They just punch it out. And I don't know. This was almost one of those where I think St. Kilda just kind of they got down in the weeds when they probably shouldn't have. They're a much more talented team. I mean, Nasiah Wanganeen Miller is on an all-time heater right now. He's playing that good of football. Like I said, an all-Australian Blazer is going to be on his shoulders at the end of the year. I don't think anybody can argue with me on that. Just I'm annoyed with how the St. Kilda team cannot put teams away. They
No,
they 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 either need the heroics to win the game or they keep teams that are much inferior to them around far too long. And this is one of those I'm disappointed in this St. Kilda team because this should have been a 30, 40 point win and it wasn't. And it's very frustrating because
yeah,
I know Ross Lyon has got the ability to coach better than what he's doing. I don't know what else to say. I can't, I don't want to waste any more time. Let's move up to the GABA as we see a stunner as the Swans go into the Gabatois and get a 2-point win, 92-90. But I'll say this, Mick, and I'm as the Swans fan that I am, this score is very misleading because this probably
mm-hmm.
should have been a 4-goal win for the Swans.
100%. With 8 minutes to go, you're up by 5 goals.
Yep. Yep. And it wasn't I don't think it was because the Swans didn't come to play. I think it's finally Brisbane's finally started playing better footy. But the other thing I look at it too is and I agree is I watched James Hurd on the Furnace or whatever show it was with him, Tom Morrison, his name fucking escapes me now. Oh my God. The
Not
former
Jimmy
Cats player,
Bartell.
Bartel. And it was
I have a
fascinating.
signed jumper of Jimmy Bartell here in our trophy room at home. It was when he won the Brownlow medal in the early 2000s. Absolute ripper bloke, Jimmy Bartell is.
Yeah, fantastic. But it was fascinating to see Sydney kind of pull out a little bit of John Longmire's original system, that great defense, but using the slingshot footy. So as a as
Mm-hmm.
a as a footy fan that's watched the evolution of the game, was it kind of cool to see the old slingshot from the Swans come back?
100%. Yeah. Love it. It's the old for those that are old enough to remember, Pagan's Paddock. North
Yep.
Melbourne did it really well in the 90s where they just left Wayne Carey one out within 70 meters of goal and then it was on. You just run, you tap it, you kick it, you just get it forward as quickly as you can.
Yeah, it was fun to see. It was fun to see. I know GWS has the tsunami and everybody has kind of a different thing that they go, but I've again, I haven't been a Swans fan as long as some. I'm not one of those people that sits there and goes, I've been watching since the 1980s. No, I mean, fully honest with you. Started keeping track of them in 2002, in 2012, really kind of full on. I became a member in 2016. So I remember some of the last stages of the slingshot and the defensive stat structure that Horst Longmire had. And to see that back under Dean Cox was awesome. And especially against a team that picked apart Collingwood last week with their kicking.
Hmm.
For Sydney to take that away, especially the way it was absolutely killed them in the grand final the year before,
Hmm.
shows that I think there were some people that jumped the shark earlier in the season with Dean Cox. Again, a little bit of Errol Goulden and Cal Mills return. Surprisingly, two players can make that big a difference because this is a completely different team from probably rounds 2 through 13,
100%.
where they were a rabble sometimes on defense.
Hmm. Yeah, couldn't agree more. They had injuries. Even Tom Papley's one that you didn't mention that, he doesn't do a lot when you're talking statistics wise, but you're talking forward pressure, you're
Mhm.
talking goals, you're talking just a genuine smart ass that gets underneath the opposition's, skin and
Mhm.
causes turnovers. It's what we call perceived pressure.
Yep.
So people think that he's there and sometimes he's not and makes them rush kicks. So
Yep.
yeah, as much as people don't like Tom Papley, I actually rate his game.
He's one of those. If you sit there and you actually ask most fans, it's the same thing up here. We call them pests. Is that you love them when they're on your team and you detest them when they're on another team. Most people won't admit it, but they would take Tom Papley on their team any day of the week because they know
Hmm.
what he does. He is a goal snake. He's one of those. He's a lot like Charlie Cameron sometimes. It's like he doesn't need a ton of disposals to make an impact. But when
Hmm.
he gets a lot of disposals, he makes an impact. So I'm 100% with you. This was it was a fun game to watch. Like I said, the bum cheeks got a little tight when that goal went
I
in
bet.
with like 4 seconds left. I'm sitting there going, probably not enough time to come back. But you sit there and you agonize because you see what
Well, St
happened.
Kilda did it the week before, didn't they?
Yeah, 2 weeks ago, St. Kilda did it, and it is the one time that Jonathan Brown does annoy me a little bit because sometimes he does let his Brisbane scarf fly a little bit more than he probably
Oh, no doubt.
should
Yeah.
on the broadcast, and it's I don't mind it, but it was like the first thing that he says is they're going back to the middle. He's like, make sure there's no 666, and I'm like, you it took a little bit to bite my tongue on that one, but it was a good game of football. There were some classy things to see. Sydney come out and have a crack despite not making finals was good to see. Again, I'm not sitting here terrified for Brisbane that they're gonna miss finals. I think top four is now hanging on a knife's edge a little bit, which I know Brisbane fans would not be happy to have to go on the road to start finals, especially when you've got Adelaide sitting there that have been
For
absolutely
sure.
scintillating at home. As I said a couple weeks ago on the podcast, I said you do not want to go to Adelaide come finals time because the Ferals at Adelaide are going to be up and about. It is going to be a raucous crowd at that
100%.
first home final for sure. I can sit here and guarantee that. So we'll move on down. Marvel Stadium sees the Gold Coast Suns get a 19-point win over the Carlton Blues in a game that I'll be 100% honest with you, this did not fascinate me. Gold Coast did exactly what I expected them to do.
Hmm.
Carlton did exactly what I expected it to do. This was probably one of the least surprising results because this was exactly what I thought. Carlton will be in it. They'll fight for it. They'll be competitive, but Gold Coast just a little bit too good.
Carlton will play, Gold Coast will play finals for the first time in their history this year. So congratulations to Hardwick and his men. But yeah, as an Essendon man, there are three teams that I don't like. Hawthorn, Collingwood spoke about it before, but then
Hmm.
Carlton's the other one. So to see that they re-signed Michael Voss, I love it because I think that his game plan is shithouse. And having been, do you remember the footy show The Recruit that aired here in Australia?
I believe so. I, I
Yep.
I
So,
don't think I watched a lot. I think I might have seen a few things on YouTube, but I
yep.
like, yeah.
So if you ever go back and watch The Recruit, there is an episode where Victoria Police play against the recruits, and ex-serving Victoria Police member, I played in that game, and Michael Voss was our coach. And he is one of the most hardest people to understand a game plan of that I've ever played under.
Wow. So very interesting. And there's not a I love Carlton's one of those again that I get frustrated with just because if you look at their names on paper, and again, I know everybody says names on paper don't mean anything, but if you look at the names on paper, this should be a finals team. This should be a top four side, at least you would think. But again, there seems to be something wrong.
A
And I
champion
agree.
team will always beat a team of champions, Donny. So when you're
I
looking at
agree.
teams who are consistent, teams who get along, teams who have chemistry, you don't look at the goals, you don't look at that sort of stuff. You look at defensive pressure and defensive structures. So
Exactly.
for how long, if a ball turns over, how quickly your team runs back and structures up into their zone or into their
Hmm.
structures on defense is an indication of how switched on that team is. And if you watch Carlton now, they are sloppy. They're confused. They don't know where they're going. And one thing that's not overly a big secret here in Australia is that TDK, he's packed his bags. He's gone. He's done.
Hmm.
So he's no longer going to be at Carlton. And playing him as a one out ruckman on the weekend, they were like, well, this is our last ditch effort. And yeah, they're hanging out for the year to be done.
Hmm. Unfortunately, which I mean, I'll be bluntly honest with you. If the rumors are true and he is off to St. Kilda, I almost want to look at St. Kilda and go, here you go. And if I'm Carlton, I'm going, let us help you pack your bags because
100%.
honestly, I'll be blunt. He's been trash. Let's just
Has.
be 100% honest. He is
He
not
has.
the same player as he was the first six rounds. First 6 rounds of the year, he was absolutely fantastic.
And last year. Yeah.
Exactly. And since round six, man, he has been absolute shithouse. He is running around like a chick with his head cut off. It's like he does not know what the fuck he's doing. And it's frustrating for a kid that has shown a super amount of talent and has shown he can play some magnificent football. So for me, like if I'm Carlton, I don't mind. Get the fuck out of here. Like it just you're wasting space right now. If you're gonna come in and act like a zombie, nothing between the ears, goodbye. So
You're right, Donny. You almost just go, look, thanks, but no thanks. Have the last couple of weeks off. We'll fake an injury. If you
yep.
need any surgery done, we'll get that done. Let's
And I
preserve your
think
trade value
yeah,
and let's get
and
something back for you.
I think Pittnet's played better. Pittnet in the games where Pittnet's played by himself, they've played so much better. And
So
it's
our
frustrating.
podcast we call Pitnet Shitnet because
I know.
while he's good at negating the opposition ruckman, he doesn't do too much else.
Yeah, true. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
there's a few ruckmen that are like that. And I think their goal is just to neutralize the impact of the other ruck.
Hmm.
Like Riley O'Brien is really good at that at
He's
Adelaide.
the best at it. Yeah.
He's- Riley O'Brien. I have a lot of Crows mates who just he is one of those. He's a bane to so many because they
Whenever
constantly are
you watch him
complaining.
run, Donny, he's like what's his name off Happy Gilmore that's chasing the
Oh
bloke
yeah,
trying to
the
get
really
Happy's
the Mr. Larson. Yep.
yeah trying to get Happy Gilmore's jacket back. That's the
I
way
agree.
Riley O'Brien runs. Yeah.
Yeah, it's he's like a really big baby deer. I love him to death, but oh my God, no, it's been fascinating. No, so I don't know. Like I said, TDK, good on you. Don't let the door hit
Yeah,
you where the
that's
good
right.
Lord split you. To be honest with you, if you're Carlton, and be fascinating to see is there any other departures out of Carlton to maybe kind of change because I mean Lee Montagna pulled it up and said that they need better kicks right now. Their kicking is absolutely killing them because
Yeah, it is.
they butcher the ball so many times.
Yeah.
They need elite kicks. They need guys that can hit a teacup from 40 meters. They need something like that because right now that is absolutely killing them. Is their disposal
Well,
is
you,
absolutely just god
you
awful.
you just nailed it, Donny. So all the good teams in the AFL have elite kicks of half back.
Yep.
You got your Rory Lairds, you got your Josh Worrells from Adelaide,
Yep.
Zorko from Brisbane,
Yep.
and Wilmot's been doing a good job. Jasper Fletcher's an up and comer as well.
Agree. Yep.
Geelong, you've got your Maxi Holmes who breaks the lines off half back. GWS have
Humphreys. Yep.
Whitfield and Ash. Uh, well, Sydney, they're not in finals, but they've got Blakey
And
who
Mills.
runs
Yep.
and yeah, Mills as well.
Yep.
So all these good teams, they've got good ball users off halfback. Even North Melbourne to a degree now with McKercher starting to come into his own and
Yep. Yep.
Sheasel and like Richmond, they're struggling, but they've got Banks. He's an up and comer.
Yep.
So
Yep.
it all starts, your drive forward of center starts from your halfback flank.
Yep. Jordan Clark at
Yep.
Fremantle. Trying to
List
think.
goes on, doesn't it?
Yep. Yeah. Josh Dacos, Nick Dacos when he does go off the halfback flank for Collingwood.
Hmm.
I would also so it's Zach Guthrie for Geelong. I think is he's underrated for his
Underrated.
kick. Yep, for sure. No, I've said it so many times in the podcast. I said the way the modern AFL with runoff with overlap run and everything like that was so much being about speed of ball movement that it
Hmm.
is almost it is almost essential that you must have a halfback flanker or a center halfback that has an elite kick and has some pace. Because if you don't have it, you don't really have anything. Because
No.
most teams can shut you down off a forward half turnover. Most teams can shut you down if you don't have quick ball movement. Like most teams are good enough structurally defensively, they can shut you down if you do slow,
Yep.
labored type of kicking. You cannot get by most of these defenses. They're just too well drilled. They're just too good. So you need that penetrating kick off the halfback flank that can open up a defense like a can opener, and then everything else flows from there. So 100% with you. So speaking of Lockie Ash and Lockie Whitfield, GWS go to Manuka Oval in Canberra and get a nice win over North Melbourne, 133-79. The tsunami was in full effect in this one. Finn Callahan continuing to show why St. Kilda threw so much money at the young man, but he decided to stay in the up in the harbor city at GWS. GWS is starting to kind of find themselves a little bit. It's going to be fascinating to watch this group as they're in that little jumble of teams with Fremantle, the Western Bulldogs, and all that fighting for those last few spots in the finals.
Yeah, for sure. GWS is actually my sneaky pick about 5 weeks ago to win it all. And I need to see him make the finals first before I can sort of cement my my love for him. But when they're up and about, Donny, there is no better team to watch.
Yep.
And yeah, I feel like this weekend might give us a bit of an indication of them at the top of their game.
Yep, and I'm 100%. These last couple of rounds are going to be fun, and them the Western Bulldogs and Fremantle are the three teams I'm watching with eagle eyes because one slip up, one trip over the gutter, and things could get interesting. I'm fascinated on that. North Melbourne, I will simply go real quick on this. In your opinion, here, horse,
Hmm.
is Clarko wasting his time?
No,
Okay.
I genuinely see improvement in North Melbourne this year, where I believe that it won't be next year, but I see finals in 2 or 3 years' time for North Melbourne.
Mm,
They've got good young kids. They've got structure there. They were just coming from a long way back. And Clarko, while his game plan isn't conducive to wins at the moment, he's providing stability and structure to a club that probably lacked that for a long time.
mhm,
So the fact that they've been in games, and yeah, they got smacked in this one by 10 goals, but they've been in games and beaten good teams.
mhm,
So I feel like it's only a matter of time. We saw it with Richmond. They spent 3 years just being in St Kilda's shoes, purgatory, not doing much. And then one year it just clicked. And then they won 3 out of 4 grand finals.
mhm,
North Melbourne, I'm not saying will be that team, but they've got potential to potentially be the team that, when it clicks, play consistent finals footy.
mhm. No, 100% with you on that one. I there's so much talent there that I think that getting that structure is the biggest thing there. I get that the North Melbourne faithful are starting to get impatient, and I understand that. And sometimes patience in a fan is nearly impossible. It's like trying to pull blood from a stone. But I'm with you. I'm seeing some signs again. Colby McKercher has been fantastic for them. He's been
Hmm.
one of the bright lights coming out of North Melbourne that I've thoroughly enjoyed watching. So it's gonna be fun to keep an eye on it. Again, it is a GWS team. When they are on, they're very difficult to stop. But
Hmm.
unfortunately, they're not always on. So they're always a team I'm fascinated to keep an eye on because It's like the Sydney Derby the last time. It was like their first half was atrocious, and then the second half they were absolutely unstoppable. Can they afford to do that in a final will be the biggest question for me. We go to the Sunday slate, and the Sunday slate sees showdown and close call Sunday. We'll start off MCG as the Western Bulldogs survive a scare from the D's with their caretaker coach at the helm. 105-99, a 6 point win by the Doggies. And if I'm a Doggy supporter, man, this was not the result that you needed against a team that's not going to make finals, is nowhere close. They're already been eliminated. Only win by six. A little negative for me. A little tick on the negative side for me because this should have been at least a 20-point win.
You would think so, but I actually went digging, Donny.
Hmm.
And for coaches that, or interim coaches that coach their first game after a coach has been sacked, they have over a 50% win rate. So when you're looking at clubs that have been or coaches that have been dismissed, they're normally being dismissed from bad clubs, aren't they?
Hmm.
So the fact that the win percentage in their first game is, or a caretaker coach is over 50%, you're like, well, there might be some substance to this. It's like it's breathing new life into the footy club. And when you're talking about Petraka and guns like, or has been guns like Oliver, Viney, Gorn was awesome in the ruck.
Yep.
They've got a good skeleton or a good spine there, sorry,
Yep.
to be a good team.
I
But
agree.
the last couple of years they've just been a bit off. And Western Bulldogs, they get the job done here, but
Yep.
fuck me, it was a bit close, wasn't it?
It was far too tight. I know a few doggy supporters that I mean they were pulling their proverbial hair out for sure. So again, I'm Aaron Naughton is on an absolute worldie right now. I don't know when he ate his Wheaties. I don't know what he did, but he is absolutely playing out of his skull right now. So thank God for him. If it weren't for him, who knows? I agree with you. You get that caretaker coach lift in that first game, and the doggies survived it. But it frustrates me because when a coach gets fired, why is it when the coach gets fired now you play inspired football? Like why didn't you play when the coach was there? So it
That's right.
brings so many more millions of questions. As a person that's I've done some coaching up here and I know the connections that you have to help your team be a good football team. And for a caretaker coach who I know is probably an assistant coach who all the players know and most likely is somebody that there's some rapport there. There's rapport there. But even still, you're kind of like you almost want to walk into the club rooms after and go, where the fuck was this 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago? What the
Hmm.
I mean, come on. So again, doggies did what they needed to do, but again, far too close for me,
Far too close.
which is the exact same thing I would say for the next one as the West Coast Eagles put a mighty scare into the Adelaide Crows, but the
Massive.
Crows get it done by 9, 87-78. This Eagles team frustrates the shit out of me because for a one-loss team, damn, they can pull some really good close opponent. They can really hold opponents and keep it close in games that honestly, I went into this thinking Phil Thorpe's going to kick six, Fogarty's going to kick five, and Adelaide's going to win this by 100. Like that was my thought process because that's how good the Crows were playing. Did they come in a little cocky? Maybe. And West Coast came out with some fire in their belly. I had to admit it was good to see Tim Kelly play a better game. It was
Hmm.
good to see this West Coast team get up and about. And again, kudos to the West Coast Eagles supporters. Y'all are some diehard fucking supporters. I will give that to you because to show up in the numbers that you guys do when you have a club that is literally in fucking shambles, it is insane. So all love to the West Coast Eagles supporters. I mean, I want to give you guys hugs because y'all have been dealt with some really crappy footy, but y'all show up for this West Coast Eagles team. And the Crows, again, they get the win, they get the 4 points. But damn, if I'm Coach Nix, I'm going, thank God I got through that one.
Yeah. With West Coast being up with 8 minutes to go, he's pulling the lack of hair that he's got out, isn't he? But this is just another one like the Western Bulldogs that they'll just tick it off. And when you're talking game reviews are good when your effort's there and you can sort of point out things that you can work on.
Yep.
But when effort's not there, it's hard to review footage because well, what's the point?
Yep.
You're not really working on anything. It's a mindset thing. So I feel like this one for Matthew Nicks, he'll be like, well, maybe we just let this one go. Maybe we just
Chuck it
tip
in the
this one
bin.
down.
Yep.
It's a win. Let's put it in the bin. It's
Yep.
done. Let's move on to next week and let's build momentum into finals.
Yep. It's one of those you chuck it in the fire, you chuck it in the fire, you don't even review it. You go, go boys, it's gone. Not even worry about it. And I think that probably will be the best way to handle it because there's not much you could take out of that. There's not. I think they took West Coast lightly. West Coast punched them in the mouth and they went, oh, I guess we're playing now.
For
And
sure.
they did what they needed to do. That's what championship sides do. Again, they guaranteed themselves
Mm.
finals, most likely a top four spot. Again, if I'm the Crow supporters are up and about, I don't think they give a shit. They won the game. They got the 4 points in the long run, that's all that matters. So
Hmm.
completely get it. So that is all 9 games went through. A fun chat. I love your knowledge of footy is fantastic. I'm loving this conversation because I love in-depth talk where we can get into it and go through some of the little things that I think is always fun to talk about. So we go to the part of the podcast we do burning questions. These are some of the questions that have rolled around in my head that I want to discuss. I want to discuss with you really quickly because
Cool.
my first one. There's 2 rounds left in the season. Again, it goes too damn fast at times. Despite as long it keeps
Hmm.
getting longer, it still goes faster and faster every year. What do you think will be the story to watch in these last 2 rounds?
Noah Anderson on Brownlow watch.
Awesome, awesome. And why is that?
I think Gold Coast are just underrated. They don't get the publicity here in Australia that a good team would usually get. And you got to remember when you look at the ladder right now, so Gold Coast are sitting sixth,
Yep,
56 points, and just percentage inside or percentage in sixth. They're a game ahead of Western Bulldogs in ninth. But they've still got a game in hand against
yep,
Essendon. They've been playing some really good footy this year. And if you look back
I
through the
agree.
Gold Coast wins, he has put up some monster numbers alongside who I call Matt Rao.
Mm-hmm.
Probably one of the, I'm going to say top five, 1-2 punches in the league,
Mm-hmm.
Noah Anderson and Matt
Agree.
Rao. And Anderson, I think it'll be Anderson and Andy Brayshaw from Fremantle who will lead early. And it'll be between Anderson, Brayshaw, and Dawson from Adelaide for the Brownlow.
Agree. Agree. I have a feeling I'm leaning more towards Dawson because I have a feeling that Rowell and Tuke Miller may take votes off Anderson. I know
Mm,
Anderson has been sensational. I agree with you. I think a Brownlow, he definitely should be one of those Brownlow favorites because he has been incredible. In fact, I've said many times, I think Anderson was kind of the silent assassin there for a while because everybody talked about Rowell, everybody talked about Tuke Miller, and Anderson kind of he just did his thing. He was not the heavy talked about player in that Coast midfield, and he's showing that he flourishes in that Gold Coast midfield. He's looked fantastic. Um, I my worry is he's going to have some guys that are going to take some boats off of him, where Dawson has Rankin, and that's really about it. So, I. I'm a heavy leaner on if you've got multiple stars in the midfield that all make impact, you're going to steal votes off each other. It's the reason I don't think Bont will ever win a Brownlow unless Libba goes, Richard goes, Dale goes, because all those other guys that are going to draw a lot of attention are going to get them votes. It's going to take away Libba a little bit. So I think that's why.
hmm
I mean, not Libba, but Bontempelli.
hmm
I know everybody says Bontempelli should have won a Brownlow. Yeah, well, he's on the wrong team if he wants to win a Brownlow. I don't want Libba, I don't want Bont to leave the Western Bulldogs. I think he's a Bulldogs guy, but he's never going to win a Brownlow when he's got some of the stars that he has around him. That's fact. And I don't know why people can't understand that because Bont is not always going to be the best player on the Western Bulldog side. And that's what I worry about a little bit with Anderson is that he's got
hmm
Rowell, he's got Bailey Humphrey has been fantastic. I know he's a forward and they don't always get the love that they probably deserve.
hmm
Tuke Miller's there as well. So they've had some
They
fantastic
have,
performances. So I would love to see it. I worry that you're going to get some vote stealers with Rowell and Tuke
for
around
sure.
him, and I think that's why I think Dawson probably for me, because in many of the games that Dawson has been the best, Rankin has not. And there's very few games where Dawson has played. And it seems like when Dawson has a bad game, that's when Rankin plays well.
Hmm.
Very rarely do they both have scintillating games at the same time, which is fun for Adelaide because you never know who to take out because one of them may have a blinder and the other one has a good game, but not like a ripping game. So yeah,
For sure.
I'm fascinated. I think the Brownlow is going to be an interesting watch. For me, the story will be the fight for the eight spot
Hmm.
because Western Bulldogs, GWS, Hawthorn, and Fremantle. I know they're fourth, but I don't know. I'm with you. The
Who
game
do
to
you think misses out?
I think it's the dog.
It's tough, isn't it?
I think it's the doggies, but I'm not confident at all because the Hawthorn win over Collingwood threw me off a little bit because I was kind of leaning. I was thinking of Collingwood, but then again, like I said, they've been an absolute rabble. I mean, how nuts would it be as if Collingwood falls out? I don't think it's going to
Hmm.
happen. I think they've got too many points. But I mean, Gold Coast. I mean, they've got the Essendon, so I literally in the back of my head, I chalk it up. They're at six. They're at 60 points. They're sitting there in that cluster that is 2 through 4, with Geelong, Collingwood, and Fremantle with Gold Coast there. So that chucks Brisbane down. I think Brisbane will bounce back. I think that was one of those that they just played an informed Swans team that honestly, if the Swans didn't drop some of the games early in the season, close losses, I think the Swans are in finals. I think that's how well they're
For
playing.
sure.
Like
Yep.
if I'm Geelong, I'm a little terrified. I know that Grundy is out without concussion, but I'm terrified because this Swans team is literally going to play with no abandon because they have nothing to worry about.
They
They're
don't.
gonna they're gonna be going on their golf trips and their trips to Germany and Europe and all that in 2 weeks anyways. And you got to get ready for finals. So you have to be extra careful that you don't pick up an injury. The Swans guys can go helter skelter and go full out. So if I'm the Cats, I'm a little worried because that's not a good team. Now, it does also improve their soft run home to finals that everybody's been talking about for the last 6 weeks because everybody's like, well, look at the Cats. They have no problems going to the end. The Swans game has significantly increased in difficulty, which if I'm Coach Scott, I kind of don't mind because this gives you a
You
test
need it. Yep.
before the finals because we've seen sometimes soft draws going into the finals can actually prepare you for failure in
Hmm.
finals time. So now it's the run for that eighth spot because the Western Bulldogs superior percentage I think is going to come into play,
For sure.
but they need help. They need a GWS, a Hawthorn, a Brisbane to drop one. And again, there's the possibility. So I'm fascinated. I think the doggies get in. I think it's GWS, Hawthorn. I don't want to say Brisbane. I think Brisbane's too good, but like I think that might be it. I think it may be those three teams fighting for those final two spots. And
Pick one. Let's go out on a limb. Let's pick one.
I think
I'm gonna pick Hawthorn.
in my tips, I had the doggies out. If I remember correctly, in my ladder predictor, I believe I had the doggies missing, and I've
Yep.
except for the Collingwood Hawthorn result, most of them have went the way I had it tipped. Except for I think I had Brisbane beating Sydney. Was the
Hmm.
only other one that I've missed in this last week. So yeah, I think the doggy. My tip was the doggies. Honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if it's GWS.
Okay.
Like right now, I wouldn't be shocked if it's GWS just because they do have the tough game coming up. I think it might be
Gold Coast
week
this
against
week.
Gold Coast. Yep. And that's a tough one. But again, GWS is one of those teams that honestly, I mean, it's the fact that it's a people's first stadium bothers me for GWS. So that's why I think doggies win, then they get the percentage booster, and GWS cannot catch that percentage. There's just no way. Unless the doggies absolutely fall in their face. Yeah, so I don't want to. That's this no shot to the Sydney to because of the Sydney Derby. No, I appreciate the Giants game. In fact, I barrack for them a little bit myself because I love that a team from a non-Victorian team is playing well.
And their social media team's awesome too.
They were hilarious. I gotta give it. I know that they took some shots at the Swans, but I took it in jest. I take the piss out of myself, take the piss out of yourself a little bit. So I'm 100% with you. So all right, let's go to the next one. All right, I want your opinion on this. Which team?
Okay.
And we just kind of actually this is perfect because I'll flip it back because you just asked me what team do you think misses finals?
Hawthorn.
Why?
I think Melbourne caused an upset this week and beat Hawthorn at the G. And then they've got Brisbane at home in the last round.
True,
They
true.
they have to win at least one and keep their percentage to stay in the eight.
Yeah.
If they lose two and Western Bulldogs win out, then they're done.
No, they don't even have to win out. All the Western Bulldogs have to do is win one.
Mm. Yeah,
Because
because
if
they've
they,
got the better
because it,
percentage.
yep,
Yeah.
if Hawthorn loses both and the Western Bulldogs win one, then they're even points wise in the percentage. If the Bulldogs win any of those, yeah. So yeah, I could definitely see that. I like the way Lloyd Meek's playing, so I don't know.
Yeah.
That's going to be a ripping game on Saturday afternoon. That's going to be
Hmm.
a fun one to watch. And then with the nice little that's a perfect little entree for the primetime game of Adelaide at home at the Oval against Collingwood. That's going to be a fun
That'll be a ripper. Yeah.
the Saturday slate. I like the Saturday slate. The other meat in the sandwich is like mystery meat with Carlton and Port Adelaide.
That's
The
the game that no one cares about.
Yeah, the good thing is it kind of overlaps with the Gold Coast GWS game, so I don't have to
Yep.
watch all of it. So, all right, and the last one, as I always do in my burning questions, I like asking a question of a fan's opinion about their team. So, as the Essendon man that you are,
Yeah.
thoughts on what is next for your beloved Dons?
Reset. Gut the list, reset. And so Rosa is from the Central Victorian area that I'm from.
Hmm.
And his brother just lives down the road, actually, Simon Rosa. So what I would do if I was the list manager at Essendon is I'd sit down and go, right, who do we see being part of our next finals tilt? Whether that be next year, 2 years, 3 years, however long it is from now, set your goals and go, all right, well, if that means we have to lose next year for the purpose of getting 20 more games into your Cacos and your caddies together and all
Hmm.
these sorts of players, Archie Roberts off halfback, like I really like his game.
Yep, I
Young
agree.
Jaden Nugent, who's come in, the first Taiwanese born player to play in the AFL. He comes in, he doesn't get a lot of the ball, but he kept Tom Papley to one goal, and then last week kept Tyson Stengel goalless. So when you're talking about a stopper, he's done his job 2 weeks in a row. And for someone that has been playing VFL footy, that's great. If
Hmm.
you see him as being a stopper in 2 years' time in your finals team, play him. But your Kyle Langfords and your Darcy Parishes and these sorts of players that they're good players, but are they going to contribute to the success for Essendon in the long term?
Hmm.
Probably not. So while they've still got value, trade them off, bring in some kids. I understand that you do need senior players at the club. You've still got merit. You've got Durham and these likes who are playing like good senior players now. Build around them. Get your kids in, give them experience, and set your team up for success for the future instead of continuing to finish outside of finals, which is what I've experienced for the past 20 years.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's as a Don supporter, this is not me taking a shot. This is seriously me questioning. Does it annoy you that there's a website that counts down the number of days since Essendon has won a final?
No.
I know there are some Don supporters that I've talked to that it
Yeah.
really it grates their teeth a little bit, but it's a fun little I think it's a fun little piss take again.
Oh,
I I I
absolutely.
I I have again the one thing that this podcast has really done for me is that I have friends, I have mates all throughout Australia, and many of them are supporters of all the clubs. And many of the Don supporters that I talk to, they're genuinely great people who I genuinely love talking to. So there's a part of me in the back of my mind that I for that day to come sooner rather than later, for that day to finally get this
Yeah.
fucking gap between finals wins off their back. And when it does, I'm going to be just as happy for you, unless it's against the Swans. Just kidding.
Okay.
Just kidding. Just kidding. It's kind of like the Western Bulldogs in 2016. There was a
For
part of me
sure.
that despite the loss, I was happy for my Western Bulldogs supporting mates because they got off the schneid just like Sydney had in 2005. So
Hmm.
it's one of those. I'll be happy for you because it's a weight off the shoulders. It's something. And again, there's some ripping players on this Essendon list that I absolutely think are fantastic players. Zach Merritt, I love what he does. He's one of those you just can't not like the guy. He's genuinely a good person. He's a damn good football player, and he just wants what's best for the club. Like
Hmm.
in every interview that I've ever heard with Zach Merritt, I think he openly admits if the best thing for the Essendon Footy Club were for him to leave, he would do it. Like, and I
Absolutely would.
genuinely believe that. And you don't find guys like that very often. So much
No,
about
you don't.
professional sports, it's all about it's me, it's an ego, it's a me thing. So to get a guy that genuinely respects the club to the point where he wants to do what's best for the club in the long run, ace for me. I absolutely love Zach Merritt for sure. So that is it for burning questions. We move to the part of the podcast. Coach takes over just the tiniest bit, but this is your first time being on the pod, so I have to explain team of the week just the tiniest bit.
Let's go.
I go a little bit more on impact on scoreboard. So there's going to
Okay.
be some names because of goals and score involvements kind of impact. So there's going to be a few names. Sometimes it throws people off a little bit the first time they hear. So I'm going to go through it really quickly, and then I just want to get your thoughts on some of the players
Sure.
that have made the team. So starting on the fullback line, since as a coach, defense wins championships, but this team is definitely probably not the greatest defense in the world, but we'll have some fun. Back pockets, Lockie Bramble of the Western Bulldogs and Alir Alir of the Port Adelaide Power, with the fullback being Cal Wilkie of the St. Kilda Saints. Along the
Alir
half,
Alir was awesome last week.
he was incredible. And for him to kick his first goal in Port Adelaide colors, I did not know that that was the first time he'd ever kicked a goal for
Hmm.
Port. So it was fantastic as a former Swan. Love Alir Alir to death. There, you have no idea how many times I would love to get him back in the Swans because they have not ever really. When Patty McCartan was the only one that ever really did what Alir Alir does.
Hmm.
So Sydney, when Patty retired, it's that one spot that I wish we still had is that great intercepting big defender. Tom McCartan could do it, but Tom McCartan is a really good shutdown fullback, so
For
he
sure.
really doesn't fill that. So, all right, to the halfback line, we have Brisbane's Darcy Wilmot, St. Kilda's Jack Sinclair, and Port Adelaide's Connor Rosie along the halfback line. In the guts, we have Ruck Lloyd Meek of the Hawthorn Hawks. On the wings, Braden Fiorini of the Gold Coast Suns, and I shifted Nasiah Wanganeen Miller of St. Kilda up on the wing for this week because a lot of his possessions were along the wing, so I thought I'd slip him in there. Plus, that would open up a few more spots on the halfback flanker position. In the guts, we have Sydney's Chad Warner, GWS's Finn Callahan, and Western Bulldogs Ed Richards through the guts in the center. Along the halfback flanker line, we have Isaac Keeney of the Sydney Swans, Jeremy Cameron of the Geelong Cats, and GWS's Aaron Cadman at that center half forward position. At the full forward positions, we have Francis Evans of the Carlton Blues, Ben King of the Gold Coast Suns, and the Western Bulldogs, Aaron Naughton, round out the starters. On the bench, I have one from each position: defender, ruck, mid, and forward. My
Hmm.
defender is Alex Pierce. You kick a goal after the siren. I'm going to give you a little bit of love here. He only had 9 possessions, so that's why I put him on the bench instead as a starter. The ruck is Mark Blitzovs of the Geelong Cats, 22 possessions and a goal kicked as a kind of shifting wing center, the ultimate utility that is Blitzovs.
Yes, yes.
The midfielder is Josh Dunkley of the Brisbane Lions, and the forward is the ever ageless wonder Jack Gunston of the Hawthorn Hawks. So that is my team of the week. Your thoughts?
Good team.
Yep.
Really, really good team.
Yep. So it's a lot of fun. Like I said, you can tell that I kind of put a lot of heavy pressure on the goals because I think it impacts the games and changes. I know sometimes I get a defender, a fullback or a back pocket that kicks one goal and only has like 13 possessions, but they made an impact on the game a little bit
Yep.
differently than some. I mean, as much as I love intercept possessions and meters gained, sometimes they're for me they're empty stats. So I
Yep.
try to keep it to where it's impact on the game. So, and
Yeah,
then my
good.
and then my homage, the next part, my homage to the original part of the podcast, the fourth and long part, is power rankings. My producer now and the original host of the show, Ross, did power rankings for everything. He loved doing that. So, as my homage to him, I keep it as part of the podcast. Is
Good.
that the power rankings? And this is a little bit different because I go off form. This is more of a form power ranking. So this is the last 5 games. How many games have you won in a row? How many games have you won in the last 5? And when was your last loss? So at 5, the Sydney Swans. At 4, the Gold Coast Suns. At 3, the Geelong Cats. At 2, the Fremantle Dockers. And at 1, top of the ladder, Adelaide Crows.
Love that.
So, yeah, it's a little bit different. Sometimes you'll get some really interesting teams in it because one time I think there was 16th place, had like 3 wins in a row, and they were the only team that had 3 wins in a row at the time. So they were in the power rankings, and I
Yeah, good.
had a few people who were like, Really? I go, well, they've won three in a row. I don't care where they are in the ladder. It's what are you doing for me lately? So it's
For
been
sure.
fascinating. So I know we are still early in the week, sir, but I always end my show with tips. So we're going to tip this round 23. Again, this is one of those fun rounds because, again, this is going to be a make or break it. Some really good matchups I cannot wait for. Let's jump right into it. Your beloved Dons in their lovely spot, Friday night footy, sees Essendon v St. Kilda. Here we go. Your Dons, Saints. Can the Dons get an upset or do the Saints continue winning?
Saints by 4 goals.
So, all right. I have Saints. I have Saints as well. I think again, Essendon, they're scrappy. They'll stay in it, but I think St. Kilda just a little bit too much
Yep.
on that one. Out to Optus Stadium, an absolute classic on a Friday night. We see the Fremantle Dockers take on the Brisbane Lions at Optus Stadium. I'm going to tip Fremantle. They're at home. Brisbane's coming off a loss. Still no Lockie Neal. I'm liking the way Darcy and Jackson are playing in the mid in the ruck. I think Darcy Fort's in for a long day. I think the Dockers just a little bit too much. They're still winning. I don't like that they're winning close games, but they're winning. That's all that matters. I got the Dockers in this one.
Fremantle for me too.
Yep. So fascinating one on that one. This is the game. This could be game of the round, and it's the opening game on Saturday afternoon. A perfect 9:35 on a Friday night for me. So I'm gonna have my
Beautiful.
popcorn pulled up. This is gonna be a fun one. Gold Coast GWS at People's First Stadium. Who do you like in this one?
I would like GWS to win for their finals aspirations, but I think Gold Coast get the job done.
I'm with you. I'm going to tip Gold Coast in this. People First Stadium has become a happy hunting ground for the Suns. I think they get it done, but GWS will be in this. This is one of those whose midfield gets on top because whatever midfield gets on top, I think could really influence this game. As we said, the mystery meat and the sandwich, the one game most people are probably not going to be paying attention to unless you are a fan of either of these teams. Carlton versus Port Adelaide at Marvel Stadium. I mean, can I tip neither? I'm just kidding. I'll tip
Yeah,
Carlton. I'll tip
I'm gonna
Carlton in this
I'm gonna
one.
tip a draw, 10 each. Don't care. Hopefully they both lose.
I'm going to tip Carlton in this one because it's at Marvel Stadium. If this was in Adelaide Oval, I may tip Port. I may tip Port, but I'm going to tip Carlton in this one because it's at Marvel Stadium. It's really all I got when it comes to analysis on this one. I'll keep an eye on it, but I'm not going to
In-
be super invested in this one.
Interesting to know as well that Hawthorn have Carlton's first round pick next year, so there's no point Carlton tanking either.
Yep, I completely agree with you on that one. All right, the fun one. Are you
Actually,
gonna
speaking about Carlton, Donny, I got one for you.
shoot?
I've just received a message that multiple current AFL coaches were approached to coach Carlton next year. They all knocked Carlton back, and Carlton had to act quick to re-sign Michael Voss.
Holy shit. Hey, there's some breaking news there. I know this podcast will be out a little bit later, so this news will probably hit maybe a little bit before, but man, that is insane that
Mm,
Voss was not the first choice. So
he was not.
a little bit of look over here type of thing.
Mm.
What's that over there? So, oy, 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 oy. All right, to the game that you said could be an upset here. MCG Hawthorn v Melbourne. Let's see. Do you do it in your tips? Hawthorn, D's, who do you like?
I like the D's.
All right, I want to tip Hawks. I'm going to tip Hawks in this one. I think they're playing really good football. I'm the caretaker coach bounce usually deflates in game
Mm.
two, and I worry that that's what happens here. That they had their great game, they fell a little short. They're going to step back, regress just the tiniest bit in that game. So I like the Hawks in that one. The piece de resistance on Saturday sees the Adelaide Oval as the
Just
Crows.
just before you continue on, sorry,
Go
for
ahead.
Hawthorn Melbourne. Melbourne's won 4 of their last 5 games when they've played each other.
Another good stat. Another good stat. You're on a roll with these. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Adelaide Oval, Piece de Resistance, Crows v Pies. I'm tipping the Crows. The Pies, again, they look like a rabble. They look unorganized. They look disinterested. The lack of effort. The Crows, they got by their scare. Now they get their tester. This proves can the Crows be minor premiers? I think they can. Crows for me.
Pros for me, Collingwood hate travelling anywhere outside of the MCG, so Adelaide, 5 goals.
Yep, this will be one of the few times where the Collingwood will not take over a road atmosphere. I think the Crows are going to that is going to be tricolored like
Yep.
no other. So go to the Sunday slate as we see North v Richmond in a towards the bottom of the table bash at Ninja Stadium in Hobart. Love saying that. Roos Tigers, who do you like?
It's in Tassie. I'm taking North.
Yep, I'm gonna go with you on that one. North at home, Richmond, fighting chance. I think this is your opportunity to get some confidence back into the group. You're playing much better footy. I agree with you. I think Richmond's blooding a lot of those youngsters, and I think
Yep.
some experienced bodies like Parker and Darling and stuff like that could have a field day with some of these youngsters. I like North and this one, especially down in Tassie. Up
Mhm.
to the SCG, the last home game for the Swans as they take on the Cats. Fun one here. Danger game. Do you see the Swans pulling the upset, or do the Cats go into the SCG and get a win?
Geelong's been on a bit of a roll lately, so let's tip Sydney.
I'm going to tip the Cats in this one. As I explained to a lot of people, I do the no lose tip here because I tip the Cats because if the Cats win, then I get the tip right. If I get the tip wrong, then my team wins. So it's a no lose situation. No, I'm, I the loss of Brody Grundy hurts a little bit. I know that this is probably one of the few teams that you could lose a ruck and actually not feel like you're taking a massive step back because
Yep.
Reece Stanley doesn't put much fear into me. But having potentially a first gamer in Will Green, the young ruck that they drafted 2 years ago, Reece Stanley is going to have an advantage. Can Sydney neutralize that advantage and continue to play some good football? There's a chance. I just think the Cats need this win to keep themselves in that opportunity to stay in the top two. I think Coach Scott has a perfect opportunity to let his guys kind of feast on a very good team that is not going to make finals. This kind of shuts up the people that are like such a soft draw home. So I think the Cats win this one, but I think the Swans are going to be in it. I think they've been playing some good football. Isaac Heaney, does Geelong try to put some time into it, or do they stay to their system? It'll be interesting to see how the Swans handle that one. That one's going to be a
Swans Swans won the last time they played at the SCG against the Cats
yep.
last year by 5 goals. Brody Grundy was pretty quiet that game. Hayden McLean played a lot of time in the ruck.
Yep. So, well, we'll see. Like I said, I think Pete Ladams made the question will be is do they bring in Will Green or do they just let Ladams have fun and rotate
Yeah.
him with McLean? I can't believe I totally forgot Ladams. What the heck? Come on, coach.
Yeah.
How do you forget that wild-haired nut job? So,
Yeah.
alrighty. And then last but not least, Marvel Stadium. Could we see an absolute drubbing here as the Western Bulldogs take on the West Coast Eagles? As soon as the West Coast Eagles leave Western Australia, sometimes they leave their game at home. I think the doggies big.
Do you remember the last time West Coast played at Marvel? They
Brain
nearly beat
farting.
Collingwood.
Yeah, it's true, but I think Collingwood took them lightly, and that was I think we
Mm,
already started to kind of have the rabble start a little bit at
yeah.
that time. So I think that's one of those. I think the talent of Collingwood beat them in that one, but the Western Bulldogs they need a
Yeah.
win. They need to win big, and their percentage really I don't even think they need to win big. They just need to win because I think their
Yeah.
percentage is good enough. But this is a perfect little soft draw for them. They can kind of crack at it and maybe put up some good points, get everybody ripping into that before round
How,
24. So I like the
how
doggies.
many goals does Sam Darcy kick?
The question more is how many does Darcy and Naughton kick? Because Naughton's on a heater. Darcy didn't do as much this week, and Naughton kicked five. I think that's 4 games with at least 4 goals or more for him. So
Hmm.
it's is it how many will Sam Darcy kick or how many will Sam Naughton kick? Because I mean, really, I think Ruben Jimby probably gets the Darcy matchup. Which then
Oh,
who do
jeez.
you put on Naughton? Who do you
Sandy
there's
Sandy Brock probably.
yeah, but then you got a huge advantage athleticism wise and jump wise, and
Hmm.
Naughton could go for 10.
He could. Yeah.
So it's like, oh man, yeah, no, I like the doggies in this one. I think the doggies big on that one. So,
Yeah,
well,
same.
well, horse, that is it. That is all 9 games tipped. That is a podcast. That is a podcast wrapped up. So much fun to sit here and talk with you. And like I said, I had an incredible time hopping on your podcast, doing the Panic Room. That was a ton of fun. I thoroughly enjoyed it. So for those that are listening to my podcast that haven't really checked out yours, just a little bit about your YouTube podcast and channel, a little bit about what you do and where to find it.
Sure thing. So it's Insight Fantasy Sports on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, or wherever you download your audio from. We run through every sport. So basketball in NBA, NFL, NRL, which is rugby here in Australia, AFL, you name it, we do it. So if you want to check us out with a bit of banter, a lot of us like to drink a stubby and throw some banter around while we talk sports. We are all year round. And as of I think it was about 4 days ago between audio and YouTube, just over 20,000 followers. So, to those that are in and amongst us, thank you. Thank you for following. We appreciate you. And again, it's just all about a fun time and chewing the fat, all things sport. So,
Yep.
Donnie, thank you very much for the invitation, mate. You've got a lot of followers and a lot of fans here in Australia that love listening to you as well, mate. And look forward to talking some more sport with you in the future.
Yeah, it's so much fun. I had a blast hopping on. I know that the banter in the on the chat was kind of funny because they were having a ball with it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a fun experience meeting, being on the podcast. I will definitely, if you ever want to talk some more sport, please let me know. Love to hop on and love to talk sport because I'm I don't get as much into the NBA and NFL up here as much. I'm more of a gridiron guy. So when it comes to college sports, if you ever need somebody to talk that, let me know. I'm massive into the college sports fields over here. So always fun.
Beautiful,
Well,
mate.
that is going to do it. That is the podcast here. Again, if you like what you were listening to here on YouTube, please like and subscribe. If you like the podcast, please give us a download. Always so much fun to talk footy. Again, the American talking footy sometimes. I know it's a little weird, but I get after it because I love this sport. I know several of my co-hosts know about my love of the state leagues. I keep track of the VFL, the Waffle, and the Sample as well, which is always so much fun because there's some fantastic footy being played all throughout Australia. It is always fun. So
For sure.
that's going to do it for the podcast. And we will be back with more footy coverage very, very soon.